I started Time Out in 1968. I was a student at the time, but there was a lot of kind of new culture happening basically from the middle 60s, and it was things that we all take for granted now, like, you know, fringe theatre. A lot of music was coming through, which in those days were people like Pink Floyd and all those kind of people. The capital involved was some. I had just had, because I was 21. I just had a 21st birthday, so I had about 75 to 100 pounds of cash sort of for my that would come from my family and bank. And then since then we've expanded almost entirely on bank debt and trading. The most significant big change in my business really was going to start Time Out in New York, which launched in 1995, which we did with some investors that I found in New York, and subsequently we now do Time Out Chicago. And then in and around all that period, we've been developing guides to cities around the world, and we use this word that we can colonize a city by doing a guide. So we go to a city like Tokyo and do a guide, and we end up with a database that's built by local experts, by using writers who know what they're talking about. We chose Manchester because when you basically look at the whole of the British Isles, there are some other obvious places. I mean, Liverpool's interesting, obviously, because what's happening in the capital of culture. Edinburgh and Glasgow is interesting. But we think that Manchester is the one place that really has all the elements that form part of the kind of Time Out data approach. We did a magazine in September that lasted covered 4 weeks of the life of Manchester. And that was done at the time of the Labour Party conference coming here. And we printed 25,000 copies. We gave roughly half of them away through Marketing Manchester and through major cultural institutions. And then we put the remaining 12,000 on sale, and we sold about 8,000 copies. So we were very happy. It was very, very well received. Well, we do, I do obviously the weekly magazine in London, and also, but we do a weekly magazine in New York and in Chicago. And I think that what was produced here as a one-off was of absolutely the same in-depth quality as any of the other publications. I mean, I'm hoping that we can launch by the middle of October, and if we don't launch by the middle of October, we'll launch early next year. In the meantime, we've got two things happening. One is that we've done a guide book to Manchester, which puts Manchester into the same portfolio of all the Time Out city guides and ranks it along, in a sense, alongside Paris and New York and Sydney and all the other places we have. And that book comes out in it's scheduled as a April publication date, and will be available everywhere throughout the city and throughout England and the United Kingdom, and it will go around the world. And then on the back of that, we're expanding our proper website presence. Because we're now such an established brand name, we get some. We have increasing number of significant sponsorship deals with big brands. I mean, we've done Samsung, for example, is something that we've done recently a lot of work with on our guides. We believe that we can sell probably no less than 5,000 or 6,000 copies per week, but we're actually expecting to sell higher figure, and we believe that we can sell sort of 8,000 or 9,000 copies fairly comfortably. And we will also look at some element of controlled circulation through the right cultural organisations to make sure that we can basically get a rate base that's viable. I mean, if you don't have a rate base that's between 15,000 and 20,000 at least to kick off, then it's not going to work.